Okay, Namaskar. Good evening to one and all present here. So we are trying to put a kind of convergence here, especially for the beginners, so that the beginners can start their journey on academic writing. So the agenda for today's this webinar is to brief you about three major aspects of book chapter writing: what, why, and how. So before moving ahead, let me introduce our editors, Professor Priyanka Pandey. First, Professor Priyanka Pandey holds a PhD degree in management. She has an excellent, working experience with respect to teaching and research writing. She has contributed almost dozens of cases, number of reputed articles, research papers, empirical studies, literature reviews, and also there are three edited books in his credit. She has written a number of chapters in different books from different publishers. Madam has a very vast experience of writing and also supporting in collaborative and in individual mode. So thank you, ma'am, for being with us. Your
Thank you,
presence,
sir, for being so generous in introducing me. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
your presence will be definitely a kind of roadmap for the beginners, especially for the beginners. And let me introduce now in the row Professor Dr. Gargi Pant. Gargi ma'am is currently working with Swami Rama Himalayan University, Dehradun. Madam holds PhD degree in management from Banasthali Vidyapeeth, Rajasthan. She is also excellent academic writer, has contributed many papers, many research articles, empirical as well as review papers, working sincerely, dedicatedly for, and also supporting many researchers in collaborative mode. She is working, and here in this edited book, she is again going to contribute with this webinar, very first webinar, that how, of course, why and how will be the part that she has to deliver along with me and Professor Priyanka. And I am and Dr. Priyanka, we
Thank you,
both are
sir.
working as faculty in DBS Global University, Dehradun. So now, moving ahead, let me just set an agenda for today's discussion. Of course, the main agenda is on what, why, and how of the chapter writing, right? So let me share my screen so that you can have a sense that what is the theme that is basically being proposed through our chapters, right? So, Priyanka ma'am, I think my screen is visible to all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so see the recommended chapters, we have almost nine major themes, right? So these are the major themes that the pamphlet and this leaflet is already being shared through different platforms. If not, I'll once I'll finish with this entire webinars, I'll again share the same with you. So these are the major nine, recommended and the chapters that we are proposing for this entire book, namely Emerging Trends in Food and Agribusiness Marketing. This is the name of the book, right? And from the IGI Global, which is a renowned publication from the house of USA publication house IGI. So you see there are nine chapters, and there is a main thesis that I'm going to propose here for the contributors, that the chapters has to be very particular to these specific themes. So there should not be any generic kind of topics that we are going to accept. So it's very clear from the beginning that we are only going to take chapters which are having a very unique themes connected with the major themes. So although I have written that not limited to, right? So this not limited to doesn't mean that any generic topic we can include or consider for this chapter. Of course, we have to have align and synchronize with the soul of this entire book, which is on the food and agribusiness marketing. And the very sub themes we have already written under the nine heads. So maybe this is very clear from the first slide itself. Now moving forward into the main session part, the first session is all about what, why, and how to write the chapters for book, right? And the second session will be Q&A session, question and answer session, where we will take few of the questions and you have to write your questions. Even during the session, if you have any queries in your mind, you can put your questions on the chat box. We will address accordingly once we will finish with the editors comments and the perspective on why and how of the chapter writing. So let me begin with the what is this chapter, right? So let me first tell you one thing. Whether it is chapter writing and article writing, I mean the research paper writing. So largely these are the two areas where researchers, scholars, practitioners has to have certain kind of dilemma when to begin with. But when we talk about any of these two domain of academic writing, so one thing is very clear, that we have to deal with logic and evidence when we are bringing our thesis in the reality, right? So what is very important here is the contribution and the basic difference from research writing with the chapter writing is the contribution and the scope itself, right? So where we are going into the call for chapter, that means the chapter writing, we have to be specific to the broader scope of our subject or domain. While at the same time, the difference between the chapter and the article is with this scope itself. In case of chapter, where it is very wider scope, broader scope. In case of your article, empirical and the review article, it is very somewhat narrow scope, right? And in case of chapters, we are basically working for expert invitations. So therefore, call for chapters. We are inviting the expert to contribute from their perspective domain, from their knowledge, right? Although this journey is equally simple and easy for the young professional, like the one who is starting the journey of writing academic this research, right? So it is not a kind of difficulty maybe somebody has to face when it comes to writing the chapters, right? The scope is basically confined to the historical developments of the particular topic or the concept or the phenomena or the pattern. Moving to the geographical variation, if any, you have to see that, if any. Further, you have to see that is there any emerging pattern into that from that particular concepts, right? And is there any practical solution? Is there any particular issue is confined to that area or domain, right? So ultimate aim is to bring the academic orientation, academic writing, where there is a importance of logic and evidences. These two things are very, very important while writing this the chapters, right? So this is just about the what is the chapters. Now let me hand over this session to Professor Priyanka for why and how part of this chapter writing.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible, perfectly visible.
All right. So, let me start with this, how book chapters are different from research paper. So, explaining the difference, you agree that both are synonyms, right? So, let's say that difference first because we get confused. When I talk to, young researcher, my students, right, they always say that, is chapter similar? So, let's take that first. So, the basic difference lies in the writing style. When we say writing style depend on the target audience. So now you must think, who is the target audience for that edited book? So when we talk about the book chapter and research paper, so we must think there's a difference in the audience, right? Because books are specifically for the readers where we want to enhance the existing knowledge specifically related to the concept, right? Let's take example of a student. If he wants to know something related to organic farming, let's take a very basic example, although it's not a very new concept, it's an old concept, but a student will certainly refer a book chapter at first place, then he will go for a research paper specifically to dig into a concept which is a much deeper into it, right? So target audience is very different for the edited book and the research paper. So accordingly, the writing style will vary. Now, when we talk about research paper, it resembles more like a reporting of your, scientific, whatever you have done, right? What experiment you have done. But here in book chapter, it is written more like a story of how the research was done. Like first we'll start with what is organic farming, how it all started, and if something new has been added from your end, maybe you have conducted I mean, like survey, like is organic farming useful or not, you might report that in your chapter. So it is more about digging into the concept and putting that into your results. Research paper is more about a very specific concept, and into more about variable and data and statistics related to that. Here we are more into reporting in research paper, right? And here we are more focused, like in case of chapters, we will write more about the concept first, something new, or maybe something old like organic farming. If you find something, some new technology intervention into organic farming, you can write about that. Even the essays works well. In research paper, there is a specific format, right? Like you must have abstract, then introduction, then there is a mandatory literature review, then you have the data and methodology. There are a lot many standard sequence. Here in chapter we have a little liberty. You can write as per your own thing. Let's take again a very basic example of financial reporting. Let's take that example. If you find something, some new innovation happening in financial reporting, like ESG. Ranjana ma'am is here. She writes on ESG. Although that topic is not related to our book, so the book chapter requires to fit in the whole project. I mean, the book, the sub themes which we just showed to you, whereas a research article is a standalone work, right? There is no need of uh, whatever you want to write, you can write on that, and it's just required to be fit in the scope of the journal. Even this little here and there is still acceptable if that theme goes with the overall scope of the book. But in book chapter, it has to be specifically related to the book. Otherwise, editors, they generally say no for the publications. So please take care of this thing. I'm saying it again and again, and that is very much required. The book's editor for book are more involved in choosing the consistency, content, organization, presentation, etc. So the involvement of editors are more here than the isolated research articles. So if you have written some abstract, you have an idea about it, you can quickly share with us. We can agree, approve on that, and you can further work on that. Similar to us, there are other editors also. If you find any call for chapters, you can directly talk to editor whether this title is suitable or not. There is no need of wasting your work. First write and then give it to the editor. If you even have the idea, you can directly talk to the editor and share your proposal. Like in our case also, we have the proposal submission deadline till 19th of it. So you can submit your work proposal around the theme which we have shared with you. Now, this book chapter gives you the opportunity to express idea that you wouldn't be able to do in a research journal, because again, I told you that if you know new concept like neuromarketing is a new concept, like agripreneurship is a new concept. So these concepts need little elaboration so that liberty can be there. If you're writing for our book, you can work on these concepts. Some technological intervention related to the concepts, you can always pick up such topic and just write in a sequence. I'll show you the sequence, how you can present your work in the form of chapter. Now, writing a single chapter. Now, people also say that can we write something which is already there in the books? Yes, you can write that, but yes, some changes, some new things which have been done or which you feel that might be useful for the audience, your own views, your own thought process. needs to be added into that. It should not be just paraphrasing of the existing concept and just, putting up in the form of chapter. Someone read that paper or chapter, the
Priyanka, sorry to interrupt you.
it's
Again, we
already known
lost
to
you.
everyone. What book chapter is ChatGPT and nothing new. So that's something
Priyanka,
new.
ma'am,
And
we
has,
lost
yeah, yeah.
you.
Okay, let me just reconnect. Meanwhile, Gargi
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
are you around?
Yes.
And,
Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Just give me a moment. Okay, so a very good evening to all of you. So let's see, ma'am has, she has explained us like what's the basic difference between a book chapter and a research paper. So yes, when we talk about a research paper, it is actually a very detailed, analysis. It has certain tools, a very in detailed analysis of a topic. And when we talk about a book chapter, it is, somewhere different from the research papers in terms of the statistical tools which we have used. But yes, whenever we are writing a research paper or a book chapter, so in the book chapter too, the idea, the novelty should be there while choosing the topic. And the topic which you are choosing for the edited book or the research edited book, it should match with the main scope of the book, right? So I have taken certain examples of the previously published papers of certain researchers. So this paper is on the agriculture marketing of Russia, the trends and development priorities. So when if you see this paper, I'm just showing you the full paper on it. So in it, first you will be writing an abstract. So in while writing an abstract, so in the abstract, it is basically like when you are briefing it up, and you will be explaining that what that idea is, which tools you have, which tools you propose to use in it, and then what analysis or what conclusion you have found into your paper, along with the tools which you have, which tools or which methods you have used into that particular research. And then there should be a keywords, and your keyword should not be more than 4 or 5 keywords. So when we talk about the abstract only, so in the abstract you should write that what that paper presents, that what is the main topic. Like this paper is related to agriculture market or the agri marketing trends. You need to tell that in how many numbers, in quantities, whether you have measured that paper, or in units, or it is a qualitative studies. Then in the abstract you need to show this, that what the result shows, what is the theoretical prediction of your papers. And then you will be mentioning that what would be the further implications of your study in it. And then it would be concluded with the further implications. Your abstract should be concluded with the further implications. Then you will be writing the introduction part. So in the introduction, you will be mentioning about the topic. In this topic, they are mentioning about that how the agriculture business, has boomed up, and what is the current trend, or what is the current scenario about the agri business. Then you need to use, in the second section, they have used the material and the method. In the material and method, you will be using that what statistical tools you have used in your study. You will be mentioning that what results you will be carrying out, what scientific methods. If you have used the primary methods for your research, then in the primary statistics, which research tools, which statistical methods you have used. If your chapter or research is a secondary database, So then which methods or observations which you have used for your paper. Then you need to write down the results, that what you have found out from your study. In the results, you will be mentioning about the, your details with the support of the previous studies too. You can also do it like that way. And then you can, whenever you are presenting any graphs or any data which is taken from some other source, so you need to give proper sourcing of it. And then after the results, you will be mentioning about the discussions. So the discussions is like the concluding part of your book chapter, in which you will be mentioning about and supporting your results with the previous results, and what you feel that what is the further implications with it, and the brief conclusion, in which you will also mention the further implications of your paper and the referencing. The next chapter is based on the financial part, that is the robo-advisor in financial management. So like this, you will be mentioning about the abstract, right? And the introduction, in which you have told about that what is the conventional financial management techniques which were used in it, and then what that how the robo advisors were incorporated into the system, then what are the compliances with it. Then you will be mentioning about the literature review, that what all other researchers or the other authors have talked about it. But when you are doing the literature review, it is very important to keep this in mind, that which data to take, to which year literature you should include in your study. So when we are talking about literature review, so you should make a deadline that you will not be taking any data which is older than last 10 years, and try to include as fresh research, as fresh literature as possible, right? Only in the case like whenever you are getting a very extraordinary paper with a citation of around 500 600, which tells you about the basic concept, then you can take. Otherwise, try to mark the line of 10 years only, and then you can take the data, like this is a chapter which is based on the secondary database, and in there they have told like what is the trend of adoption of chatbots by the Indian banks, and then they have mentioned about the source, and this proper source is also mentioned in the references, and in the copyright form also you will be mentioning the full link of the source. Then coming up next, in the literature review, you are telling about that how the robo advisors they are using it, and how that process of robo advisory system has used. And whenever you have taken any data in numbers, you have to represent this properly into the tables, and the proper table number, along with the source, the year on which that data has been published, where it has been published. You have to mention all that information along with the sources and the table numbers into it. And like this data, the source is Statista. So you have to mention the Statista, which year database you have taken, the full link of that database. All that information should be mentioned into your reference. Then in the discussion part only, you will be telling about the algorithm part, and then what kind of challenges you have find out. You need to, if it is a secondary database paper, you need to mention it about that what kind of challenge, how you will identify the challenge, and how you have mentioning it. And then you will be concluding your book chapter with it and with the recommendations and then the references. Same way, this is the next paper which is related to the artificial intelligence. So the introduction part, the abstract, the introduction, and then when we talk about the artificial intelligence, that is when we talk about the dilemma, that what is what problems you are facing. So you will be mentioning into it that when we talk about the fraud detection, so any specific tool which we are using, so that we have used it here, the researcher has used it here as a black box. Then what are the regulations related to it? Then you are telling about the concept and the benefits, that what will be the benefits the industry will have, the individuals will have with the uses of that newest concept, and the literature review then you will be mentioning, and then any data source which you have taken, so you will be mentioning the proper table number, and the figure numbers will be mentioning over here with the source, or and then there would be that what gap you have found into your research or in your study, and then you will be supporting it with your discussions and the conclusion into it, and with the referencing. So the very important thing, when you are writing a chapter, and one when which you are when you are writing a book chapter and giving your suggestions, or or putting the literature review and supporting your research with the past literature, is to link it and is to keep this in mind, the novelty of your idea and the database, that it should not be a very old literature which you are including. Because if you are taking a very old literature or a very old paper, then somewhere it will not go with the novelty. It will minimize the acceptability of your idea novelty. So I think that's all from my side.
Thank you, Gargi ma'am. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. Now let me once again call Professor Dr. Priyanka Pandey to continue the session.
So yes, I will continue the same thing. I mean, how we can come up with a good quality chapter. So I would like to take this. I mean, what should this sequence when we write? So if you don't have any data, you have not done any primary research, there is no issue with that. You can still contribute in the form of theory, in the form of theoretical framework, in the form of concept, right? So that is the added advantage in the chapter. So you can do with that. Now, if I specifically mention about the IGI guidelines, because we are dealing with the IGI book, so I will talk about the guidelines related to that. So in that, the originality of manuscript should be there. Only original submission will be accepted for publication, and manuscript may not have been previously published, right? So you need to take care of this fact that manuscript is original. Whatever you write, submit it only as a book chapter. Do not make it at multiple places. And I was mentioning this fact that most of the time, in most of the cases, what we do is like we try to paraphrase the existing thing and we'll just try to present that. So that should not be the case. IGI Global will not publish a manuscript that is a revised version of a manuscript that you publish elsewhere. So do not get into that paraphrasing and revision game, right? So try to be original, because as a academician, as a researcher, we all want to contribute to the existing body of literature. So if that is not happening, right? So I think there is no point of writing anything or submitting any such document. To be considered original, a manuscript must be at least 80% new material. Okay, one more thing I would like to mention here: there's no need of putting too much of references and citation into it, because too many citation, too many references shows that the concept is whatever you are writing, that is not being very much novice. So what we'll do is, like, just make 10 to 15 citation, because when we compile, references section should not be very long, right? Maximum up to 2 pages. It should not go beyond that. Try to be more original in writing, whatever you write in your concept. So 80% new material with no more than 200 consecutive words properly cited, repeated verbatim from any previously published work. So we'll say that plagiarism should not be more than 10%. That's the standard. And the length of the paper, which is most important, it has to be 5,000 words, single spaced. That makes 10 pages. That's the minimum length required. So if I say 2 pages references, so 8 pages originally written should be there in your chapter. It should not be like, 2 pages, 3 pages chapter. So 5,000 word, single spaced. If you go double spaced, so it will become 20 pages. So that way we can think. So format, ma'am has shown you a few examples of the format. Right? So in format, we'll start with the abstract. So we all are researchers. Similar to that, abstract will be there. It would be summary of it. Keywords. Now keywords are, in keywords, what happens is, like, keywords has to be very specific to your work. And in keywords, we encourage you to give at least 6 to 7 keywords, right? Because at the end in the book, we will be compiling all the keywords, and we will be giving the glossary, right? So nice keyword should comes up from your research. So while writing keywords, be specific and be around your book. Then introduction, you all are aware of the introduction, so I need not to talk much on introduction. Then comes the material and method. Now in material, what material we are talking about here, like whether you have used the primary one or the secondary one, right? So whatever material, whether you have referred some government report, some agencies report, so we can write that in material. And method, you all are aware, primary, secondary, or which statistical tool you have used. So that all will go into material and method. Even if you are using secondary data, please mention which secondary data you have used, which government report you have referred, which agriculture body like has given that data. So that would make this particular section very unique. And do mention that. Then comes the result. Now in result, whatever, like if you have done some statistical analysis, so you can present the result. Else you can remove the result section. If you have not done any primary work, you can directly come to the conclusion. So you can skip the result section if you have not conducted any primary research. Result is only for the primary research. Rest can be clubbed in the discussion section. So do not think that what we will write in result, if we have not done any, like no statistical analysis has been done in that, right? Like Gargi ma'am was mentioning in her presentation, that you need to put some data and statistics. Tables and figures looks very nice, but do not copy any figure and table directly from any website, because that will bring a copyright related issue. So what I request you is, like, if you find some data, try to create your own tables, right? Do not copy any direct image from any website, right? You can have that data, you can give that citation at the end of it, but the that image should be your original one. Else you have to get the permission. That will bring a lot of challenge for you to get the permission, because we'll be asking for the copyright of it. So avoid doing that, right? But if it is available on a public domain like the government website, that can be copied. But avoid copying table. It's better you make your own table, right? Copy the data, but create your own table. Making a table is a very easy task, not a very tough thing. Then comes the discussion. Now focus on discussion section. because that will be the crux of your paper, right? So make it at least 1 page, 1.5 page, a nice discussion on the topic, right? Because that is the only novelty the reader will be focusing on, that what's new, what's extra happening in that particular domain which you are writing. Like Pooja ma'am was talking about some horticulture, right? Related issue, and sir was mentioning about a supply chain in agriculture in Himalaya. Aditya, I think, mentioned about the Himalayan region, supply chain related issues. So that is something which is very unique. So put the emphasis in the discussion section, that what new thing, what new finding you have brought in, right? And then conclusion, you all know how to conclude the thing. References, do not put too many references, that will make our work very difficult, because too many references, when we compile the book, references make a very 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 big list, right? So here, please remember, now it's there in the IGI portal itself, that you need to follow APA 7 style, not APA 6, it's APA 7 style that you need to follow, and that is the mandatory requirement, right? We can't escape from that. So please follow APA 7, so that there is no issue with the compilation. And I believe you all have your own topics and you want to work on it. So I request all of you to submit the basic proposal in the IGI portal, because we are in the process of giving the chapterization to your submissions, right? So it would make our life easy, that we will be having this thing in our mind, that who all are going to submit the chapters, which one to select, which one to reject, and how to give sequence to the chapter. So I request all of you to please submit a basic a proposal means just the abstract. I mean, what is the objective of your chapter, and what are you going to achieve out of it? So a 200 words nice proposal, please do submit on the portal, so that we see that, and accordingly we plan the next plan for our book editing thing, right? So I believe that now format is clear, and as a chapter contributor, and we are really thankful that you all have joined and taken out time for this webinar. I think due to technical glitch, I could not contribute much, but I believe that you must have got the idea, and looking forward for your own contribution. So thank you so much from my side. Satish sir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's really a wonderful presentation from Priyanka ma'am's side and also from Gagi ma'am's side. So let me just sum up this entire session. So how you have to go ahead and you have to move, further for a good proposal. So the first thing you have to make clear that whatever you are going to write, that would have some kind of novelty, some kind of originality that you have to keep in mind, right? Because if the content is already published somewhere, or if you are just making a kind of cut copy paste, so that will not make any sense. From editorial point of view, also for us, that will be quite difficult for manage such kind of content for approval. Now the second thing is, second important point is the theme of the book, which is almost 9 themes we have listed. If your content and the proposal is somewhat connected to the food agribusiness and agriculture, and connected to the marketing and the business and supply chain and value chain domain, be it a horticulture, floriculture, apiculture, so that's not a big deal. You can connect with that. The second thing. Now the third thing is, now you have to have a clarity on the theoretical submission, I mean theoretical work or the theoretical contribution versus empirical or your real life kind of reality related proposal. If you are having a theoretical proposal of some concepts has to be you have to bring into the entire thesis, then you have to write from the broader perspective of that particular domain. You have to bring the entire thesis in the way that in case of any further researcher would like to see or would like to quote your work, they can connect with your literature, and they will work further. So let me clear one thing again here. Why research chapters are nowadays getting importance. Earlier there were days when book chapters and books were not getting citation, but now this is a time the IGI or such kind of an publisher has made it possible that all such kind of chapters which are very much fruitful for a beginner or for any researcher to build their literature review, right? And these publishers like IGI Global, they are basically creating all these chapters separately and giving a DOI for every chapter or every book, so that it's very easy nowadays to get citation, get your work highlighted among the domain of the researchers or scientists. So there is a possibility which is not confined to the research article now, that has increased to the research chapters. So that apprehension of some of the researcher or scholar is now not a big deal, not a big problem, right? So from the theoretical point now, when I connect you with the empirical or reality related concepts, so madam has already made it clear that the format has to be very very pertinent, that material and method has to be written, result has to be clearly mentioned in your entire thesis, and of course the discussion conclusion are one of the very important part that will bring some kind of rigor in your study or your subject, right? Moving to the next point, uses of table, uses of figures, and nowadays the trend of infographics is also into the limelight. So you can also create some kind of infographics, but not copy and paste material, right? Again, if it is a table, you have to have certain kind of modification on that, so that it looks nice and it brings some kind of unique concept, unique facts and figures, right? And yes, you have to adhere with the guidelines of IGI, which is listed in the submission portal. Visit that submission portal and connect with that. The small things like plagiarism need to be addressed, less than 10%, right? The length has not to be very very large. It has to limit somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 or 7,000. So that will be somewhat uh, acceptable for us also, right? So these are the kind of sum up from our side, from editor side. And of course, if you have any further problems, you can connect and you can reach out to any of us. We are 5 editors here. So because of some time paucity of the time, 2 editors will not make available today, right? So details of all the editors are listed there. You can ping anytime whenever you feel there is a problem. So we are always ready to support you, assist you in case of any difficulty you found. And that's it from my side. We are also recording this session, so you can reach out this session anytime. So thank you for being with us. So we'll see good proposals in IGI proposal box. Thank you. Have a nice day.